So I quit a job, or we went our separate ways. I wanted more money. They didn't want to give me more money. It wasn't a lot more money. It was just 25% more, really. They were paying me 80 bucks a day. I wanted 100 bucks a day. I consider the environment too high risk for my mini. You got a lot of DUIs in there. You got a lot of people driving while impaired, driving while intoxicated, driving while high. You got people speeding through the parking lot. They're reckless. It's just too high risk for my property. All the personal liability that I was going to take on, or the threats to my life, and all the other things that started happening. I could take those on. But like I told one other guy that I was working security for, and like I told this woman, because a woman owned that particular company, that listen, when I had crashed that vehicle, like, you don't pay me enough money to even fix it. And that's kind of my issue with all the DUIs and everything, and me seeing someone get their mid-90s Impala SS hit by some POS Toyota's a CRV, or a RAV4, and we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s, and then just kind of just driving off. I'm like, nah, because somebody taps my car the way she tapped that car, it's going to be at least $3,000 worth of damage. And while I do have full coverage, my insurance company may just want to total the car out. So, I'm going to have to fix it. No. And so I needed more money, to actually fix the car if something happened to it. And she wasn't paying me enough money. She didn't want to pay me any more money. So I didn't want to do the job, and she wanted her stuff back because she felt like I was making a demand for more money, which I guess, I was. And she wasn't willing to live up to that demand. So she said deuces, and I said, okay, deuces. And really, my 10 years worth of experience has got to count for something. What I know, what I can do. I mean, people are asking me to write up rules of engagement because I'm complaining about the rules of engagement. What do you want us to do in this kind of general situation? I mean, I got people coming into the restaurant with open containers, drinking alcohol, and I don't know, you don't have any policy for it. What do you want me to do? And if they buck, what do you want me to do? Well, you write up the rules of engagement, and then I'll tell you whether they're good or not, whether I approve of this or not. That's not my freaking job. If I'm going to write up the rules of engagement, then I should get more money for it. And any other suggestion I made to you beforehand about, what the staff should do at that particular restaurant to make their operation smoother, which would essentially make our operation smoother and reduce the number of problems. No, it's not our job to tell people how to run their business. You're not telling them how to run their business, you're making a suggestion. But if you want me to write up the rules of engagement, then and that you would use whether I was there or not, then I just need to get paid for it. And then you put my stuff is at more risk with the people recklessly driving through the parking lot and the DUIs and everything else. My property, and it's not a concern of hers, so nah. No, and I'm thinking $100 is just a little bit of money, and I could get that, but you don't want to give it to me, so hey, I can't do it. I got no written post orders. I shouldn't be doing anything anyway, which I decided I wasn't going to do. I don't have, my car's at more of a risk in this particular location, and you're not going to compensate me for it, and why should I do it? I shouldn't. So, even though I need the money, when you do a cost-benefit analysis, no, because somebody taps the car, that's $3,000 worth of damage. At least. They broke the windows out in one location, cost me $650. I got that in a month, put that back together. Did some other things to the car that cost me a lot of money. I repaired it. I thought would cost $500, cost $1,000. You know, keeping my car on the road is what keeps me going to work, and you're not paying for that. 80 bucks a day is not paying for that. You know, in fact, between both of the jobs, hell, I was only making $525, so that's $2,100 a month, which is, you know, it's not going to pay for the mini, and it's not going to allow me to save a lot of money. So I don't know. So, well, I do know that my car was at too much risk, and it wasn't worth putting my car in that environment for 80 bucks a day. And now, mind you, if you knew how I drove the Mini, if I'm saying that this area is too reckless, that it's too much of a risk, that says one whole hell of a lot about the area, about where that car is at. And I'm telling you, they're reckless and it's too much of a risk. So I'm not willing to do it, and it's not getting done, and I no longer work for that company, and I got some other decisions to make. And so that's all that's really going on. I wanted more money, they didn't want to give it to me, so we went our separate ways. All right, see you later.